I have never sold anything that I knew I couldn't deliver on. The fact that I know what I'm putting out there to the universe is entirely attainable, that doesn't mean I don't have big dreams. It just means that I am choosing to go after them in a way that actually feels manageable. If you've ever looked at creators like Alex Hormozy or Cody Sanchez and thought, how on earth do they create so much content so consistently? The answer is actually pretty simple. They have teams. And that's the thing most people don't realize about visibility. At a certain level, it stops being about talent and starts being about infrastructure. Because the truth is, you don't need more ideas. You need more capacity. And that's exactly why I'm so excited to tell you about Workplay. For only $497 a month, Workplay gives you access to a global network of creators who essentially become your on-demand media team. Every quarter, you get a 7-hour brand shoot, photo or video, anywhere in the world. But what I love is that it's not just someone showing up with a camera. They help you think strategically about the content. They plan the shoot, they create the assets, and they help you actually get the content out into the world. Because let's be honest, most founders don't need to build an in-house media department. They just need access to one. And that's exactly what Workplay was designed to do. Visit the show notes to learn more about Workplay and what it could look like to finally have a media team behind your vision. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Fame Ready, the podcast to show you that anything is possible. Yes, including fame. My name is Katrina Owens. I'm a top personal branding and public relations expert and the host of this show, obviously. We've got tons of new listeners coming in every single week, sliding into my DMs. So I am just feeling really, really grateful for all of the growth. Because since Big Brand Energy Live, I feel like my business has shifted, how I see my future has shifted, how I see the future of my business has shifted. And, not all of that happened just because of an event, even though the event is taglined the day that could change everything. I really believe it's because instead of treating my personal brand like I'm a solopreneur with a team of contractors, I'm instead starting to look at my personal brand and all of the things I create as assets and treating those assets like we're actually building a larger media company, not necessarily just me being myself as an influencer or service provider or single person online. I think that was great for an era of my life. But as things get bigger, as I get the opportunity to work with bigger brands and take on larger events, there's no denying that this business that I am building is actually much, much bigger than I had been playing over the last couple months. And that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, I think all of us need to really focus on taking paced growth. None of us should be thinking we go from hosting no events to hosting 150 people with massive sponsors and all of these obligations. I think it's best for our nervous system, for, even just creating really, really good results, if we're always giving us an opportunity to achieve the thing that we set out to do. So what I mean by that is, the other day I had a recap call with one of the sponsors of this year's Big Brand Energy Live. I was really, really happy with the experience that they had, and that made me feel really good. And one of the things that they said to me on our call was, one of the biggest things that they could applaud me on is I said I was going to have a certain number of people in that room, and I did. And I think that's one of the things that I see a lot of people miss when they're executing an event or making external promises. I have never sold anything that I knew I couldn't deliver on, whether that's a program with certain deliverables or, an event with a certain amount of people, or even to brand partners with a certain amount of engagement, or, opportunities. Like, I am a extremely realistic person. That is what actually helps me sleep at night. The fact that I know what I'm putting out there to the universe is entirely attainable. That doesn't mean I don't have big dreams. It just means that I am choosing to go after them in a way that actually feels manageable. And actually, that leads me into what I want to talk about today, because if you know, or if you know me, I guess if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that a couple months ago, I had made the decision to hire a marketing director on my team. I actually did a whole podcast episode on why we were hiring that person and why I wanted to fill that gap. And I wanted to actually give an update on how that's going, because it's going amazing. Which, of course, I knew it was going to, but it's made me realize that for all of you that are listening that want to grow your personal brand-based business, a 6-figure personal brand, a 7-figure personal brand is really the era that I'm now in. If you want to do those things, then you've got to start treating your personal brand like it is a media company, like you have assets. And hiring this marketing director, bringing her onto my team, has really, really helped me see that and also see the power of that. So let's dive in, because I think one of the biggest mindset shifts that entrepreneurs need to start making is this shift from, personal brand, solopreneur, content creator to media company with assets. So when I talk about assets, what do I mean? Assets are anything that generate revenue for your personal brand-based business. There are things like your events, your books, your social media platforms, your website, your keynote talks. All of those things are assets, and not to overwhelm you, each and every one of those things should be treated like little mini businesses, because yes, they contribute to this larger personal brand-based ecosystem, but each and every one of these things has the opportunity to generate revenue on its own and to become so much bigger, more profitable, more visible than we really give these things credit for. So when I brought my marketing director onto my team, one of the very first things that we did is a call where I just told her everything about my business. I just brain dumped, like, these are all the different things that I do. This is what I'm working on. These are what my big goals are. These are what my dream brand partners are. These are what my biggest dreams ever are. I just told her everything. And the expectation was she would take that away and put together a strategy that brings cohesion to everything, but also, most importantly, helps us create a plan to actually achieve the deliverables in all of those things. Because as a personal brand, you can have all these different assets. You can have events, you can have a podcast, you can have books, but they only really benefit your personal brand if they are all kind of linked together in a way that makes sense for the person observing. So what do I mean by that? So anyone who is listening to this podcast probably also follows me on Instagram. The content that I share on this podcast is similar to what someone might experience with me in a coaching program. The stories I tell, the concepts that I use are also super similar to what's in my upcoming book, The 6-Figure Personal Brand. So all of these things, all of these assets have commonalities that link them together. So someone could go on, a complete journey with me, go to my events, read my books, listen to my podcast, join my programs, and have a cohesive experience. Yes, where they're getting something different. Okay, they're having a different experience from each of those things. Obviously, what you get from attending Big Brand Energy Live is a different result from working with me. Not vastly different, but different enough that it makes it really fun for someone to be part of my audience, or I think a better word here is community, because I'm creating this community of people who believe that anything is possible, who want to feel famous, and who are going after their biggest dreams. So that's how each and every one of my assets connect. Now, There are some like very, very big dreams that I have in the background. There are like some big events I want to speak at one day. There are some really big brand partners I want to work with. You know, I want to be a reality TV star. I want to have a music career. I want to do so many things. So how do we work towards those goals while not interrupting any of the revenue streams right now that will actually help build me towards those things? Is keeping these like future goals in mind without trying to like take a leap towards those things, and instead we take a step. And so what I believe my marketing director did so freaking well is she really saw like, okay, these are like the really big things you want to do. Well, here is the next step, the next small step that you need to take in all these different areas that's going to get you closer. So I'll give you a really great example. So one of my dream brand partners is Coca-Cola. If you know me, you know I love Coke. It's Coca-Cola, I should say. Someone could clip that and that'd go wrong. Love Coca-Cola. Yes, the full red label. Don't give me any of this diet Coke, Coke Zero crap. Like I just want a full red label Coke. Nothing is better. And for me, I would absolutely love to have Coca-Cola as a brand partner one day. I just think it's so fitting. I mean, all of my friends, people that have been in my community for a really long time, just know that I have this habit. It's not going away. And it's like really like my guilty pleasure. It's become part of the brand. I even have brand photos from a long time ago that have a Coca-Cola can in them. So that's funny. But how do we like get this brand partnership with Coca-Cola? Well, when we're talking about working with bigger brands, this is obviously like any brand. I mean, if you've listened to the episode with Annie from Dubsado, you probably got a lot of insights into what it's like to work with a brand like that. But as we get into these like really big multinational corporations, there's a lot of layers. And in a very interesting turn of events, and this is how I know the universe is always working on my side, my incredible marketing director used to work for an agency that worked with Coke products. So she had been able to give me the inside scoop. And so she had told me that that brand is really focused on a very certain target demographic. And the target demographic that actually isn't me. And as we were kind of building out, like I was sharing more about my keynote talks and the different audiences that I talked to, we realized that there's cohesion between one of the types of audiences that my keynote talks speak to and one of these audiences that Coca-Cola products are trying to reach. So there's cohesion there. It's not as simple as just saying like, I'm Katrina, I love Coca-Cola, you should rep me. It's got to go deeper than that. And I obviously always knew that, but it was so powerful to have my marketing director actually map it out. And while we were on this call together, I could actually feel myself getting so lit up with the power of possibility because I could finally see like the roadmap in front of us. I was finally like, oh, okay, now I know where we need to spend more time, more effort. And, you know, just because the universe is always working in the way that it should. One of the biggest mistakes I see business owners make is spending all of their time working in the business instead of building the thing they're actually trying to become known for. Because every hour you're rebuilding a contract, chasing down an invoice, manually scheduling a call, or trying to figure out where a client is in your process is an hour you're not spending on visibility, relationships, content, speaking, opportunities, or growth. That's why I love Dubsado. Dubsado is the client management system I recommend for service-based business owners who want to create a more professional client experience without adding more work to their plate. It brings your proposals, contracts, invoices, scheduling, and automations into one place. So instead of constantly reinventing the wheel, you build the process once and let it work for you. And here's what I really appreciate. Your clients receive beautifully branded proposals, contracts, and invoices from the very first interaction. Because we all know that perception matters, and the way someone experiences your brand before they ever become a client impacts how they value the work that you do. More than 35,000 entrepreneurs run their businesses on Dubsado, including thousands of 6- and 7-figure business owners. You can start a free 21-day trial with no credit card required. Just head to Dubsado.com and use code Katrina Owens for 35% off your first year. You'll find the link waiting for you in the show notes. There's some other things that have been happening in the background of my business. Different people who might want to work for me or are curious about interning. And we ended up putting together a really, really cool program that's not only going to contribute to great internal business growth in my company, but it's actually going to help us build a larger outward brand that's only going to bring in more opportunities like speaking, like brand partnerships, and all of that. So it just felt so good. And why I wanted to share this is because going through this experience reminded me how when I decided to hire a marketing director, I never seen anybody do it before. Obviously, I'm a corporate gal, so I used to be a marketing director, and it's a position that I was generally familiar with. But when I looked out into the general coaching space, when I looked out into how are other coaches or personal brands structuring their teams, no one had a marketing director, okay? Because we tend to hire two different types of roles in our business. So the first one is the most obvious, I think. They're the support and executional roles. So these are assistants, coordinators, managers, it's your virtual assistants, executive assistants. I think executive assistants, at least mine does quite a bit more things that even I can't do. So I would say that's a bit of a higher level role, but marketing assistants, social media managers, people who are really just hired to take the executional bits and do them. And I think that that's really important in the early stages of growing your personal brand-based business. We can't be stuck in the doing all of the time. So hiring roles that can help us do more. So, hiring the virtual assistant or the executive assistant, so we're not spending so much time doing emails or admin tasks, that's great. But then we fall into this trap of, okay, we've got all the executional roles done, and then we hire high ticket, high level coaches, consultants who are people that you might liaise with. And they might be people that give you really, really great information. But at some point, you cannot be the only one executing on all of that. And I know this so well because I'm someone who obviously coaches entrepreneurs on their personal brands and their PR. And my clients get long lists of homework from me. This is what you want to achieve in 12 months. Here's the next step. It's not hard work. It's a lot. And obviously I'm doing this work at the same time. So I know it's a lot for me too. So what I think is really fascinating about this marketing director journey is now I have found the bridge between strategy and execution, because my marketing director is not the executor. It would be such a waste of her expertise and time if I had her creating social media graphics in Canva. It's not like she can't do those things. In a pinch, sure, she can pull something together. But now I can really see how I have a partner in creating all of this. So she's someone who sees the larger vision of what I'm trying to achieve. It's someone who sees the opportunities, but it's also someone who has experience. My marketing director is someone who I hired because of her very, very specific PR and integrated media experience. And so that is someone who is really helping me bring so much professionalism, I would say, into my organization, into my company. Because for so long I was doing things a little bit scrappier. And I think, obviously as personal brands, we tell ourselves oh, we're not ready for this yet, or we're not big enough for that yet. And you know how I feel about saying those things, but they do still come up. It is normal for us to feel that maybe a certain type of hire is out of reach for us. But when I look at the personal brand that I've created, there's so much there that could lead to bigger PR opportunities, bigger brands, speaking on bigger stages. I can't do all of those things alone. And I also can't be the only one strategizing those things alone. When we're a personal brand, it's really, really easy to like get caught up in our own heads, right? We're like, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do that. I have this on the go and I have this idea and blah, blah, blah. It is so imperative that you hire a team member that can be a shared brain on some of these things. And you know what? I was thinking about this the other day, yesterday, because I shared similar sentiments about how excited I was about having my marketing director on my team and some of the things we were working on. I made a post on LinkedIn, and a couple of the comments that I got on it were from people, actually all from different clients of mine, who are like, kudos to you, Katrina. Like, I know how vulnerable it is to like let somebody into your business like that. Like, and I never really, I always try to like lead with caution, right? Like, there are reasons why I hired the person that I did, and I think if you listen to the previous episode about hiring, you'll be reminded of why I hired someone who doesn't have a social media presence, but also like isn't interested in having one. Um, Essentially, like, I cannot have somebody who like wants to be me in this role. And when I was doing interviews for this role, in one of the interviews, someone who was so sweet, so kind, actually really liked her. She actually said in this interview, like, I can see myself doing something like you one day. And I'm like, okay, well, that's that's where this conversation ends. Not because she's not talented and experienced, but because I cannot be sharing all of my dreams, visions, and having someone strategize all this for me, only for them to like leave and then go do it for themselves. Right. And so the other day, I was telling Gabriel about what I'm working on with my marketing director, and he asked me the question. He's like, "Are you like, does any part of this like make you feel like nervous about sharing so much information with someone?" And I said, in this case, no. I'm someone who holds a lot of her cards close to her chest. While I have great friends that I share quite a bit of my like dreams and projects with, there are still things that like I keep close until I've like been able to like fully flush them out and like get them out into the universe. Like, I didn't even, you know what? I shouldn't even say that, because I was going to say, I didn't even tell a lot of people the title of my book until it came out. But I started to tell more people, but it was because I knew like the 6-figure personal brand, as soon as I started using that term on social media, I could see other people starting to use that term. And I was like, that's why we got to make it the title of my book. So anytime someone says 6-figure personal brand and eventually 7-figure personal brand, like, they think about me. Okay. That's a strategy there. But, I didn't post that title months ago when I thought about it. I posted that title once the book is like a couple months from launching, because, people will go out there and take your ideas and try to copy you, try to do it themselves. In this very particular case, in terms of my team, I don't feel that way. Obviously, we have specific contracts in place that prevent some of this stuff from happening. But at the very same time, all of the projects and like strategies that we're working on and the tactics that we'll do, they're very, very true for me. So it's not like I could gift my deck to somebody else and have all of those ideas make sense for their business, right? Up until this point, I've created a brand. There's so much storytelling about me online. Like, there's just so much out there that this strategy makes sense for me because of everything that I've done up until this point. So I don't think someone could just like take everything that I've done and go implement it themselves. Also, because like on some level, like all of our personal brands are unique because we as humans are unique. So the way that I build a community, the way that I've built my business, the way that I have built my personal brand, are there things that people can kind of imitate or implement themselves to see similar results? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, like nobody can actually be Katrina Owens and in the purest form, right? Like that is my gift, is that I'm me, and all of my very, very unique traits and stories and qualities create the person that I am. So that's what makes me less hesitant about, someone like working with me for a couple of years and then going off and doing it themselves, because at the end of the day, it would look different. But based on everything that I've worked on with this team member so far, like I don't see that being an issue here, which is really, really exciting, because it is vulnerable to tell somebody everything that you're working on or everything that you're dreaming of. Absolutely it is. So I just think that like that is such a important thing to keep in mind. Like at some point, you're going to have to get comfortable making a hire that knows more about you. So if you're someone who is scared to let people in, whether that's into your business or into your vision, you're probably going to struggle building a really, really visible personal brand, because you simply cannot do it alone. I have done it alone up until this point for the most part, but God, I am tired. I'm tired, and there are so many opportunities that, maybe I haven't been able to either fully execute on or even fully see, because I haven't had this second set of eyeballs that's like looking for the other opportunities, because they're all always like other opportunities for you to increase the value of something. Like, if I use the example of my event, one of the things that I didn't do was have a merch table. This was something that someone had suggested to me. And yeah, I thought it would have been great for like some extra income. But at the same time, I didn't have an extra body to do it. And when it came to actually like designing the shirts or like dreaming up what it was going to look like, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I was like, this is like way too challenging for me to do under the gun like this. Like, it's just feeling forced. I don't even really want to spend my money on these like half-ass shirts that I had designed. And that was a great call. But yeah, did I miss out on an opportunity for people to rep my brand and to have some cool teas and stuff out into the world? For sure. And that's okay. Next time we'll do better, because next time I will have the team member in place to help me execute on this and do more long-term planning also. The other thing that I'm working on is having a book tour sponsor. So I have a very specific vision about the type of brand or business that will make a really great sponsor for this. But at the same time, like I can feel myself putting that specific task on the back burner. But that's a task that could increase my revenue by 10, 15, $20,000. So I would be really, really remiss to not make that a priority. But it's hard when like everything is a priority, right? So yeah, it was really, really fun to kind of see someone else take my vision, take all of my dreams and all of my goals and just map them out. And now we have these really, really clear plans in place that I actually didn't have to create, by the way. Obviously, there's direction and leadership from me in terms of, okay, let's make this the priority first and then work on that. And, there are some things that I do have to be the leader on, but um, the things that I'm being the leader on are the things that are my gifts. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to remember as personal brands. Like, there are so many different books you can read that talk about this, like the $10 tasks versus the $100 tasks. Like, your personal brand is going to grow so much faster when you are truly using your gifts to create the types of content, the types of experiences, the types of relationships that only you can. That is where your value is as a personal brand. And I think if you can wrap your head around bringing someone else in to support on all of the things that, you might be good at. You might be able to do them well. But they're certainly not your gifts, and they're certainly not the things bringing the highest ROI to your business. If you can hand those things off to another leader in your business, I really, really think that you're going to be able to shift and transform and grow so much faster because you're finally not doing it alone. Because we were meant to do all this alone anyways. So I can't wait to keep you guys updated on some of the actual projects that we're working on. I want to share them on this episode just because some of them are like in the very, very early stages of bringing them to life. And you know me, I love to have a little bit of secrecy and surprise and all of the things that I do. I mean, that's what makes me a really, really strong personal brand. But I know you'll be hearing about all of those things really, really soon. So just stay tuned. If you like this episode, please rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify. Please DM me at Katrina Owens PR if you loved this episode. We are getting the podcast Instagram back up and running. I should say like podcast combined with some other things. By the time this episode comes out, it might actually have had its glow up already. So you can follow that over at Get Fame Ready. That is where you are going to find the podcast, the programs, all of the resources that really show you that anything is freaking possible when you act like it is. I'll see you all next week. Okay, you guys. Toodles. One of the things I've learned over the years is that extraordinary things happen when ambitious women get in the same room. Not because someone gives them a magic strategy, but because they're reminded of what's possible. And that's exactly why I created Big Brand Energy Live. It's the room where women come to think bigger, dream bigger, and finally give themselves permission to pursue the goals they've been quietly carrying around for years. Since attending Big Brand Energy 2026, women from our community have launched sold-out retreats, secured brand partnerships, landed international speaking engagements, started their own communities, hosted events, written books, the list goes on. They've all pursued opportunities that they once believed were out of reach. And not because the event changed their lives, but because it reminded them that they were capable of changing their own. Big Brand Energy Live returns in 2027 as a 2-day experience in Metro Vancouver, Canada, and it's designed to help you expand your vision and take action on it. Right now, the summer presale tickets are available at 50% off regular price, with flexible payment plans available too. If you're ready to spend 2 days in a room where anything feels possible, I'd love for you to join us. Visit the show notes to grab your presale ticket, and I cannot wait to see you there.